Hi, this is Alex from phpacademy.org, and this is a video tutorial for the new Boston. Now, in the last tutorial we looked at the get and post HTTP requests in jQuery. Now there's a few additional things you can do to actually create a better working and more flowing script, I guess. Okay, so we have some callback functions, additional callback functions that we can append onto the end of our request. So we have our $post here, so we have our HTTP request in place. Now what happens if we receive an error? Now if we receive an error in this at all, for any reason, for example reverse doesn't exist, or something's gone wrong, we can actually bind onto the end some checks. Now we have 3 checks that we can complete, and that is success, complete and error. So for example, let's go ahead and try error. I'm just going to use at the end of this here, you'll notice that it starts here where my text editor has highlighted it red and ends here. So this is really after the initial post request. We can set another callback function. So function, again, we create a function inside of here, and then we have some curly brackets. I'm going to bring this down, and if there is an error, I'm just going to alert to the user an error. So an error occurred. Okay, so you obviously don't have to have an alert. You can do absolutely anything with this. You could put some data into this feedback, just say error occurred. In fact, I think we probably do that now. That's probably better. Feedback.text, an error occurred. Okay, so if we have an error, we are using a callback function to put the text "an error occurred" inside the feedback div. So let's go ahead and test our script. Again, Alex says hello. That will just be Alex says hello. Now what happens if, for example, our file doesn't exist? Well, let's go ahead and rename it. Let's go over to PHP. Remember, our file is called reverse.php that we've called just here. So let's go ahead and rename that to reverse1.php. Okay, so let's go ahead into our browser. Let's press enter. Let's go ahead and type my name and a little message again, and we click go. Now we get an error has occurred, error message being returned to us. The reason that there's an error is because this file doesn't exist, and this error will be fed back for a variety of other reasons as well, depending. Okay, so let's rename our file back the way it was. And I'm going to go through some other callback functions we can use. So we also have .complete. And this is a callback function to run when the request is complete. So let's go ahead, and for this we'll just alert. In fact, we'll create another div just under this one, and we'll call this messages. Okay, so back into ajax.js, we'll put this here as messages. So if there's an error, we have a request, some text going to there. Now if the function, or if the post request is complete, we can again put a message into messages. So .text request complete. Okay, so now let's go ahead and press refresh. Have Alex and hello. Click go. Request complete, and Alex says hello. So now that's telling us that the request is complete. Okay, we also have .success. Now this is only run if the current operation is successful. Now if we look at the difference here, we could say get rid of that now and go ahead and rename our PHP file again. So let's go ahead into our PHP directory and go ahead and rename reverse. Okay, I'm also going to use this and say append rather than text. That just makes it easier to see each request in total. So let's go ahead and run this. click go. Okay, so you'll notice that we have a request complete, but we also have an error occurred. Now that's the difference between complete and the success callback, which we're going to write in a moment. Success will only be returned if the operation is obviously a success, if everything's gone to plan and we've returned some data and the file exists, blah blah blah. Complete will always happen as long as this post request, this HTTP request, has been completed. So we can go ahead and we can add on a success callback function as well. So inside here we create a function and we pull that down, and we can go ahead and copy and paste this into here, and this will be messages.append request successful. Okay, so now when we return here and we click go again, you'll see that we have, it's appended it on, but we have an error occurred and request complete. However, we don't have a success message. So now let's go ahead and go back to our PHP directory, rename our file back again so we have the correct file being called. Now the callback functions that will be returned are request complete and request successful. We don't have an error. The request, remember, always completes, well, almost always completes, and the request will be successful because we already know it works. So let's go ahead and test that out, and we'll see them two messages appear. Okay, so we've got request successful and request complete. So why is this useful? Well, if we have an error, for example, we might want to log this error. We might want to go on and display a message to the user to say there was an error retrieving your account information. An excellent example is Twitter. Twitter has a system in place that when the loading point is taking too long, it tells you that tweets are taking too long to load. This wouldn't really have anything to do with the error part of this, but it does give a good example of how, if there is an error, for example, if something wrong was returned, or if the file didn't exist, you can alert the user rather than nothing happening or displaying them with a long error inside of the page. Okay, so these are the callback functions that you can use on either the post or the get HTTP request in jQuery.